Good evening and welcome to Truth America. I'm your host, Dennis Hendrickson. Disturbing footage from the UK depicts hundreds of Muslim migrants armed with knives, swords, baseball bats, and hammers clashing with anti-immigration protesters in England and Ireland. The unrest began this week in London, sparked by massive anti-immigration demonstrations following the tragic stabbing murder of 3 young white girls and the attempted murder of 8 others by an African migrant in Southport. Instead of addressing the violence against the murder victims, Communist Labour Party UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who is married to a Jew and raises their 2 children as Jewish, criticized the protesters, labeling them as right-wing thugs intent on violence. Starmer's defense of the migrants and condemnation of the native citizens wanting to be safe seems to have emboldened the murderous migrants, who have since taken to the streets armed with dangerous weapons, intent on genociding white citizens. Cities such as Stoke, Belfast, Blackburn, Liverpool, and others have seen these violent groups searching for anti-immigration protesters to stab and murder. They so far have been successful. Several white citizens have been stabbed and violently cut, while UK police stand by idly and let it happen. Of course, under the order of the communist politicians. It's now clear beyond any reasonable doubt that these communist leftist politicians have given the green light to migrants to commit genocide against all whites in North America and Europe. Keir Starmer is the one who murdered those 3 girls. He is responsible for their deaths. The migrants being in the country and holding the knife is because of him and other Labour Party politicians. The question is, will the Brits hold him and the others accountable? And that's a memo. So I watched his address after I had put this whole thing together, and I want to share it with you. It's probably one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen. And it, without any reasonable, there's just really no doubt in my mind after listening to this and then watching everything that's been going on in the UK that it's just blatantly out in the open now. These communists, they don't care anymore. They want to genocide whites. They want to kill all of us. They've been trying to get away with it for a long time secretly. And now I think they know they've just been so emboldened that they're just out in the open and doing it. But listen to this disgusting, and I'm probably going to interrupt it throughout and make a comment on it, but this is absolutely disgusting from this Prime Minister.
Be in no doubt, those that have participated in this violence will face the full force of the law. The police will be making arrests, individuals will be held on remand, charges will follow, and convictions will follow.
Now, of course, he's talking about the protesters. Those who are going out and saying we've had enough of being genocided. We've had enough of our children being stabbed and murdered. That's who he's talking about. I'm sure most of you know that. But you would think that someone who actually cared about their citizens would be talking about the ones who they let into the country that are committing all of these stabbings and the murders and all the things that are going on. That's not what he's talking about. Because once again, what these people are trying to do is kill all of us who are white. That's the whole point of letting these migrants in without any repercussions, without any sort of governor on it at all. They're just letting them all in.
I guarantee you will regret taking part in this disorder, whether directly or those whipping up this action online and then running away themselves. This is not protest. It is organised, violent thuggery, and it has no place on our streets or online. Right now, there are attacks happening on a hotel in Rotherham, marauding gangs intent on law-breaking, or worse. Windows smashed, fire set ablaze, residents and staff in absolute fear.
Now, what he's talking about is a hotel that's holding migrants, just like all the hotels that we have holding migrants in New York City and other parts of our country. Now, my guess is that these are paid patsies, paid whatever you want to call them, that are going out and setting fires and doing all these things to these hotels to make it look like it's all about the Muslim migrants and all this stuff. And it's all faked. That's what all of this stuff is. So what people are upset about is having their own citizens being murdered. But what he's doing is he's saying, look at all these fires and look at all this violence and window breaking that's going on in these migrant shelters. My guess is those are paid actors that are doing that stuff.
There is no justification, none, for taking this action. And all right-minded people should be condemning this sort of violence.
We're condemning the violence from the migrants. We're condemning people like you who are bringing these people into our countries that don't belong, that are committing crimes and murdering our citizens. You are a murderer.
People in this country have a right to be safe.
Yeah,
and yet
we have a right to be safe.
We've seen Muslim communities targeted, attacks on mosques, other minority communities singled out, Nazi salutes in the street, attacks on the police, wanton violence alongside racist rhetoric. So no, I won't shy away from calling it what it is: far-right thuggery.
It's a common theme and it's old. It's tired. It's overused. This is a man who knows that he's a murderer. He knows that he's committing crimes. He knows he's committing treason against his own country. His party, his Labor Party, his Communist Labor Party is destroying a country. He knows. So now he has to put on this bravado and say that we're going to arrest all of you. And then he's calling everybody else that's standing up for their rights and standing up for their country and standing up for their lives. These people aren't just simply saying, oh, we don't like these people coming in for no reason. They're getting murdered. They're getting cut up. And this has been going on for decades. And they've had enough of it. And now this guy comes out and it's predictable. Every single time they do the same thing and make the same speech. Everybody that's protesting against it is a far-right thug. And they've had enough. And I certainly hope that this continues and builds and gets bigger and bigger. Because this guy and the Labor Party politicians need to be held accountable for the murders they've committed.
To those who feel targeted because of the colour of your skin or your faith, I know how frightening this must be.
No, you don't.
I want you to know that this violent mob do not represent our country, and we will bring them to justice. Our police deserve our support as they tackle any and all violent disorder that flares up. Whatever the apparent cause or motivation, we make no distinction. Crime is crime, and this government will tackle it.
And he's a criminal. Keir Starmer is a criminal. And he should be held accountable.
Thank you. So, two questions, Rob.
Yes, we've seen. Thank you. We've seen a hotel being set fire to and Rotherham State being broken into. Can you say that the policing operation has been a success, and what more can the government do to stop this?
Well, as a government, we've had meetings all weekend and in the latter part of last week with law enforcement, with police, to make sure the necessary support and arrangements are in place. We do have standing arrangements for law enforcement, which means that we can get arrests charged, remands in custody and convictions done very quickly. I myself was part of that in 2011 when I was Director of Public Prosecutions, and I'm determined we will do whatever it takes to bring these thugs to justice as quickly as possible.
And do you believe everyone that is taking part in this disorder is part of the far right? And do any of the scenes we are seeing at the moment give you pause for thought about divisions in the country or how you approach other broader domestic policy areas?
If you target people because of the colour of their skin
Notice how he doesn't
or their
answer that.
faith, then that is far right, and I'm prepared to say so.
So in other words, he's not going to answer that question. Do you think that there are people, in other words, that are sick and tired of not feeling safe in their own country because of what you've done to the country and the migrants that you've led into the country and your policies that have allowed this stuff to happen? Because the whole idea here is to get rid of white people. He's not going to answer that question because he can't. So he says the same old talking points. If you target somebody by the color of their skin, and it's all the same bullshit that you hear over and over and over again, and people are just so over it.
But it doesn't matter what apparent motivation there is. This is violence. It is not protest. It doesn't matter what the motivation is.
By the way, it's okay. Your children are going to continue to die violently. They're going to continue to die violent deaths from stabbings from people from other countries. And how dare you say anything about it? You need to die and take it. Your kids need to die and take it. That is what this man is saying. This man is saying, I and the rest of my party, the people that are running things, are going to kill all of you. And if you say anything about it, we're going to put you in jail or kill you faster. That's it. That's what he's saying.
The motivation for the vast majority of people in this country is to see their streets safe. And that's what I'm determined that we will deliver. Thank you.
Prime Minister, is it possible that tougher sentences could be given out to rioters, as they were in 2011, to act as a deterrent?
I think there needs to be the full force of the law. And I think it needs to be swift. What happened in 2011 was that we were able to see individuals who took part in violence arrested, charged, remanded and convicted very swiftly. Standing arrangements are in place.
I'm done listening to this piece of shit. This is where people need to, if they don't stand up now against this motherfucker, then there is no standing up at this point. It's either you do it now or you don't. This guy is saying to you, I mean, this reminds me of the regimes of the 80s in the Middle East where protesters were just shot in the street. This guy can't do that. He would if he could. You know, and what they're doing now, what a lot of these governments and these parties are doing is that they're allowing others to do their dirty work for them. So it doesn't look like they're actually committing the crimes and committing the murders. But this guy he's committed the murder. I mean, he committed the murders by his party has allowed this stuff to happen. They are, I mean, it can be just so easily simplified and boiled down to one thing. You know, all of these other debates are completely useless to have, and they're pointless. These politicians are letting these migrants into the country by the millions in order to murder and eliminate and genocide white Europeans and North Americans. Period. That's all this is. And they'll sit there and deny it and say you're crazy, but that's exactly what it is. And this guy knows that everybody has realized it now, and they're not putting it up with it anymore. So his thing is he's going to come out and he's going to tell you that he's going to put everybody in jail. You can't put everybody in jail, pal. You can't. And I certainly hope that these people care enough about their kids not getting sliced up by some scumbag from the continent of Africa or wherever else they come from, because this man wants to kill your kids and he wants to kill your family. So anyway, let me know what you think. This is a dark day, but dark weekend, dark week. I certainly hope that people are waking up and are going to hold this guy accountable and the members of the party accountable and not back down at all. I certainly hope. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Be sure that you subscribe to be notified of additional videos that are coming out, and I'll see you in the next one.